Quick communication lesson. Abraham Maslow was a psychologist and professor who taught that, in interactions with others, one should always look for the good in the individual, rather than trying to find problems. Perhaps what he is most famous for, however, is the hierarchy of needs, otherwise known as Maslow's pyramid. The pyramid works like this. It is split into 5 levels, with the lower the level being the more essential the need. The idea is that once an individual has fulfilled the needs of one level, the individual may move up another level. The bottom level are things that are literally required for life, such as food, water, sleep, as well as things beyond human control like sweating or thinking. The second level is security. Security of self, family, property, money, and so on. Also, more vague subjects such as morality. The third level is where things get a bit tricky. This is where the need for belonging comes into play. A need to love and be loved by others, specifically family and friends. The fourth level is the self-respect level, where one must find the things that fulfill them, fill them with confidence, grant them self-respect, and instill a respect for those around them. The top level is the level of self-actualization, and it's a place most people will never reach. It's sort of a zen-like area where one is fulfilled in all facets of life, which leads to creativity, resilience, knowledge, and broader understanding. I introduce you to this idea and recommend Maslow's book on it, Motivation and Personality, or an abridged version, so that I can discuss an issue on the subject of sex. See, it is the issue of some debate as to whether sex belongs on the bottom level, that is, an action that is totally necessary for life, or the third level, the need to belong. On the broad scale, it's fairly obvious sex is necessary for life, putting it on the bottom level. But we're aiming to understand for the individual. It is perfectly possible to live a life without sex, and in fact there are individuals who lead such lives. So why is it that some can go without sex? Now, while I'm no psychologist, my guess is that some individuals simply do not have a sexual desire, either by birth or by training, because looking at mankind as a whole shows that we are very sexually fueled. We've all heard it. Sex sells, and frankly it does. It appeals to a very primal instinct in us. We are born with a deep-seated desire to pass on our genetic information. This is advantageous to us, both as an individual and as a race, and this isn't race-specific. Almost all species on Earth live to mate. Beyond that, we know that repressing the urge to mate or villainizing sex in general has very negative effects on the individual psyche. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. See, I brought all that up to talk about an even more interesting issue. Well, to me at least. See, some individuals, either by odd childhood or maybe a combination of unique events or a series of events, even just by crazy nature, end up with certain kinks or fetishes. And what's interesting about fetishes is that they seem to lump into really broad categories. A lot of guys like large breasts, a lot of girls like fit men. But even more narrow, we have pockets of people into similar fetishes. BDSM, furries, maids, lollies, and so on. So what leads people into these fetishes? Why do they find these things sexy? Why are there some things which don't seem to have any evolutionary advantages, such as urophilia? Why is that perceived sexy? The wide world of fetishes is so interesting, yet there is so little mature discussion on the issue. You there, listening to this video, I bet you have a hidden kink, right? I bet you have a couple. What do you think they say about you? What could someone learn about you from learning that you have them? I feel like the world of us and our fetishes is a wonderful facet for communications, but there is simply no serious forum for discussion about them. Which is a shame because, as I have said before, repression of our baser needs and desires is detrimental to our mental health. To sort of work in reverse, this is the broader theme of Speedgrapher, which is for another day, so if that sort of thing interests you, give that show a watch. Now, I'm a Philosotaku, guys, and you guys know I go to a lot of cons, right? Well, let me say I also do a lot of panels, and one such panel I do is called a frank and open discussion about us and our crazy fetishes. I started doing it for exactly the reason I said above. I feel that no discussion on the subject was being made, and the lack of discussion was a missed opportunity to understand others, and ourselves. The panel works like this. Before I start, I have everyone wanting to go in line up outside, where I'll walk by and check IDs, and hand everyone a post-it note. I instruct them to write a fetish they have on the post-it note. Interestingly, I always find individuals who seem bursting at the seams to share their fetishes with the world. At Anime Fest, one guy had 3 post-it notes filled to the brim with his fetishes. I then instruct them to put the post-it note on their head. After everyone is post-it noted and ID checked, I let them into the room, which is usually set up in a big circle where I'll stand in the middle and take volunteers from the crowd who will tell me, or I'll read off of their head, one of their fetishes. I then write it down on a big piece of poster board and talk with the audience about why that fetish is or could be sexy. I'll then go to the volunteer and ask why they like it. And this has proved to be an exciting and excellent way to get people to open up about an otherwise private topic. I'll do this for an hour or two, and then I'll finish the panel with a segment I like to call How I Learned to Stop Worrying and How I Learned to Love the Tentacle. See, I'm a Philosotaku, and the rap anime gets a lot of the time is for being filled with tentacle porn. So rather than run from this, I get the entire audience to tell me why they love tentacle porn. And this actually ends up being sort of like a faith healing show or something. I really enjoy doing it, and the audience seems to respond well also. Now, my Philosotakus, with all of that being said, let me do something that is admittedly a bit small of me. See, in regards to this topic, this panel and myself, I have been slighted. By a convention, no less. You see, I was uninvited to this year's, that is, last year's, Ikkicon. That's right, uninvited, and it plain pisses me off. Let me tell you the tale. See, Ikkicon accepted one of my panels, my philosophy and anime panel, but rejected my fetish panel. I asked why and was told that the panel wasn't universal enough. Now I appealed that choice, stating a few of the panel's merits, and got an answer stating that I should never question the panel picking staff and that I should feel lucky that I even got a panel. And this is the point where I got a bit offended. Perhaps I a bit too diligently explained that I was not begging for scraps, that a con benefited from panelists, not the other way around. At this, I got a response stating that forthwith I was uninvited to the convention. Now, the individual who said this is apparently no longer staff with Ikkicon, and I also got an apology from the rest of the staff. And I still went to Ikkicon for the record. I had a great time. I see no reason why I should hold a grudge that could in any way negatively impact the community. Plus, I see this as a wonderful chance to spring forth and discuss a few emerging issues I see in the con circuit, but that's a future episode. So anyway, fetishes. If this sort of thing is interesting to you, check out Speedgrapher, or if you have a specific fetish in mind, look up its history. You might be really surprised. Fun fact, foot fetishes date back to the 13th century. Finally, guys, keep me at this. I've been really busy lately, but my time should be coming back to me. Don't let me be lazy. Demand more content of me. So until next time, which hopefully will be very soon, Philosotakus, stay hungry.